So now we're going to talk about intercepts. So say we have a coordinate system, and say we have a graph that's looks like that. Well, we have an x-intercept right here. It's wherever your graph is crossing the x-axis. So we call that the x-intercept. The coordinates for that point, well, I don't know what it is in this case because I don't have any little marks there, but maybe it's approximately -2, 0. But notice that the y value is 0. We also have a y-intercept, which would be this point right here. So that would be the y-intercept. And the coordinates for that point, in this case, maybe it's like 0, 1. And the x value is 0. Okay? So if you'll remember those things, that will help you out a little bit when you go to identify intercepts. So x-intercept is where it's crossing the x-axis. Y-intercept where it's crossing the y-axis. I always think of intercept like interception in football. It's where it's crossing it. I don't know if that helps. Okay. So it says identify the x and y intercepts. All right. So I'm looking at this A, and I see a point right here for the x-intercept. So x, usually I just abbreviate x, int, and that's going to be the point -1, 0. And then the y-intercept would be this one right here, which is going to be 0, 2. Okay? So it makes a difference where you put the 0, so make sure you get that right. Take your time. All right, and then let's go to the next one. X-intercept. Well, it's crossing the x-axis right there, and that's the point 3, 0. Now what about the y-intercept? Well, there's none. Don't put 0 because then that'll be confusing to us. We want to write the word none, or there isn't one, or undefined, or something like that, okay? None, I think, was a good way to write it. Okay. Now what about this C? Well, where's it crossing the x-axis? It's going right through the origin right there, right? So the x-intercept is 0, 0. The y-intercept is also 0, 0. So when it goes through the origin, that's both the x-intercept and the y-intercept. All right, and then we have one more graph. X-intercept, well, there's two of them. There's one here, so -2, 0. And, I'll just write and. There's one over here, 2, 0. Looks like an absolute value function, right? Okay. And those are the two x-intercepts. What about the y-intercept? The y-intercept's right there, and that's going to be the point 0, -3 in this case. Okay? So we look for where it's crossing the x-axis and where the graph is crossing the y-axis, and those are going to be our intercepts. Okay. So let's look at some situations here. Here we have x-intercepts, none, and we have one y-intercept. And it's that point right there. Okay? There's 1. Here we have one x-intercept, so one x-intercept, and there are no y-intercepts. So these are just different examples. I'm not saying the numbers because they didn't give me anything to really tell what the numbers would be. Now in this one, this is a relation. It's a circle. And in this case, we don't have no x-intercepts and no y-intercepts. Let's switch colors here. Now what do we have here for this kind of squiggly one? Well, it's only crossing the x-axis here, so there's one x-intercept. But look at, there's 3 y-intercepts. Okay. I'm just pointing out x and y intercepts. I'm not identifying them exactly. Okay. And then what do we have here? Well, we have it going through the origin. So there's one x-intercept and one y-intercept. And they happen to both be 0, 0. Because we can see it's going through the origin there. Okay, so that's just a little bit more about intercepts.